I know that people often think of writing when they have to look at you and say, "Why would you do that?" And the best response is, "If you ask me any more questions, I'm going to write about your secrets." And then people don't usually ask after that. To explain is like sitting in front of a gypsy and wondering what you would have done differently if you hadn't made the choices that affect your entire life. Writing is something you can't explain, and somehow we don't have enough fiction writers who dare to admit if there was a reason. The reasons are furtively biased as they prove useless in the conversation. To explain it means shedding off the mystery of faith you have with your reader or the world because the world wants us to be private, reserved. The last writer who tried that was J.D. Salinger, and if anyone was alive or can Google the harassment that led to much displeasure in his life, sometimes it's easier to just peek your head out of your cabin, say some nice things about your book, who your influences are, and how you offer little to no answers in life. Seriously, if we all said the last part, we might not be around anymore. But life is complex, and if you have yourself found answers within your writing, it seems you might be looking too closely. Sometimes, as a young writer, you want to impress people, but you don't want them to see that you are really just exerting yourself and you are acting and not really writing. Writing, in the most high art terms, is not letting sounds take part in the work. You have to describe concrete details that are beneficial to your work. If you're dealing character, that's another arc in itself. But to understand what it means to write is the same as asking a butcher why he cuts meat. He knows how to do it, and he's been trained to do it. From my experience, most English teachers want you to give up the ambitious life of wanting to be a writer because, yes, it's too hard. Trying to do it and getting published for it are two different things. Most people usually stop writing when they know it's too much to write the book, but then know there's opposition and competition trying to take your spot. If you have ambitions of being famous, 86 that shit out of your veins. It will only make you bitter and your writing will suffer. They want to hold you back until you are older anyway. What you have to do is self publish or go to independent publishers. That's the only real place left to go. The business is run by women, and if you are a He Man who wants to write about He Man's stuff, please don't rely on larger publishers to do so. There seems to be a checklist that women look for in most publishing criterion. You must be one of the following, or both, or all three in order to make sure you are published: gay, lesbian, or pan, or one of the many other genders SJWs have ascribed to today's standards. Also, black, minority, or Asian, but considering that it's hard for Asians to get into Harvard, that's another issue itself. The world only wants you to give up, and you have to realize they are not going to give you what you want. Surprise, surprise, life doesn't give you what you want. If it did, there would be no reward in the end. Understand it is like either being in prison or paradise. If you have the ambition to live your life as you see fit, you will be the writer you will be. Sometimes maybe it's putting yourself out of the pain and seeing yourself in the mirror and looking at all your scars and realizing it's okay to be unfamous. Fame is a virus, and if you are famous, you are already in a bubble. You have to hire security, give up your life online, and also pretend that you care about people. I'm not the type of person to kiss ass to the media to show my gratitude anymore. I only let my family go with stuff they say to me, and that's that. Also, if I really cared, I wouldn't be online. People who are never online have no life any way to share at all. Life and writing are very two separate issues as well. Life never allows you to write while your free time does. I've forsaken the road of riches because sometimes it just feels better not to have anything. Not bum like status, but living on my means and simply deciding on what is important or not. Do I really care what someone says on the internet? No, because what I have is the power to write, and they have the power to complain, which is not what writers mostly are, but Jonathan Franzen and Stephen King complain all day, so who's stopping them? If you are a great writer, you don't have anything to complain about at all. You don't have the time because you're busy being God on the page and showing yourself how you still command the written word. Not that I'm bragging, but maybe I am. What I say is that writing is about everything, and you have to say is that maybe you don't really know where your work comes from other than yourself, unless you are writing about a very specific category in which you have to arm yourself with knowledge, but after that, the ideas are born out of your head. It's easy to say what you have to gain from nothing is simple. You become a better writer. Not being famous and fine is fine. If you accept it, you will get better at it. Because when you blow in the books that fall over the people, it will be an avalanche of words and spitfire that has nothing else left to say. People can say you're a terrible writer, but can anyone really prove it? That would take hours, and if you really want to destroy my career, fine. But I don't care about the people who shit on me. They're my children. I love them anyway. Because as we all know, opinions are not facts. Your opinion about how I write, how I form the paragraphs, how long the sentences, and the way I write are all just an opinion. Opinion art is not the fuel I run on. People have sticks up their butts anyway, and however I feel is not the issue. If you hate my book, you might want to consider that your opinions are just opinions and not facts. You are not in control of my writing. You don't have access to my thoughts. Your critique of the book is just an opinion. Don't forget, all writers, you are badasses and you bring your own qualities and quirks to your writing, and don't let the molester editors try and take that away from you. They can be conniving. They can be rational. Yes, rationale is their big thing. They want to see your work as a product, but not a product of your imagination. They have absolutely every intention of turning your work into a piece of disposable garbage. And if you're a writer like me, never intended your work to be commercial at all, it gets a little hard. In concern to the disintegrating bloodline, my first book, my first editor, in a few words that summarize it best, took the venom out of the cobra. And the answer with what you have left comes from Quagmire from Family Guy said, a belt. What you have with writing, with the grit taken out, is a clean writing that won't sell. If you take all the things that make it interesting out of a work, you're rendering the work useless. It will be readable and maybe get a 5-star rating, but after that, no one is interested. Then you start to think, why is this happening to me? And maybe it's because you let yourself get cucked by a man who you didn't know at all and gave him your writing. Yeah, it's fine to be a professional, but if you're barely talking at all and gives you no encouragement as to writing, you should find another publisher, and quick. Cut off all ties and just pretend you never even published that book. But to be fair, there were things I learned, but most of it I never profited from. I never made more than $20 off my entire career with my last publisher. I didn't even bother to cash the checks, they were so low. So it doesn't help when you aren't thinking about how to make a profit with your writing, but your publisher is. The point is not to trust the molester editors and the people who pretend care for you. You'll be another Barton Fink. Loved and then shat on after you write something that comes from your heart. You want that Barton Fink feeling? Well, I'm not going to give it to the publishers. They would give you the loves and kisses, but they have no loyalty to you or anything else. All they care about is that almighty dollar. Let that sink in. Green, cash, what I don't have. And how am I supposed to make a living? Well, that's because when you self-publish, you don't expect rewards here on earth. The point is to write what you see and experience in your own mind and let it shine on the page. All you have to do is will it, and it will exist.